Today, on Woodworking with Jake, I'm going to show you how to make one of these elegant looking pens. Not only do they make excellent gifts, but they're easy to make and beautiful. First of all, we need a basic pen kit. One of the easier kits will do, available at your local woodcraft stores nationwide. After that, we're going to need the correct size drill bit, bushings for your pen kit. Your bushings will have to match up with the kit specifically. You will need pen blanks. Choose wisely. The more beautiful blanks will cost you a little bit more money, but in the end, the result will be magnificent. We're going to need a few lathe tools, a simple gouge, and others. We're going to need some wax. Hut makes a beautiful wax and glossy shine coat. We're going to need varying degrees of sandpaper, and of course, the instructions. Okay, now we're ready to begin step 1. Now that we've chosen a wood blank, we're going to mark the blank for the 2 different lengths of brass tubing. As you can see, we have 2 different size lengths of brass tubing. Therefore, we need to cut our stock not directly in half, but thereabouts. Now you want to mark the 2 different pieces to show which 2 sides went together. Now we're going to mark the centers of each stock with a straight edge. And now we're ready to drill. With a simple pen jig, it'll hold it square so we get a straight line going all the way through. This is very important. We want to back out multiple times so we don't get a buildup of pressure and cracking our fragile piece of beautiful wood. After drilling the holes, we're going to get ready to glue our brass tubes into the wood. First, we're going to gently scuff the outside of the brass tubes. You can either use steel wool or fine grain sandpaper. This scuffing allows for the glue to adhere to the wood correctly. After scuffing, we're going to use some instant glue to glue the brass into the wood. We want just enough glue to adhere to the wood, but not too much to make a mess. This instant glue can dry fast, so after smearing the glue all over the tube, you want to insert it into the wood fairly quick. As you can see, the wood is a little bit longer than the tubes themselves, so we need to trim off or sand this excess amount of wood off. Now that the brass is flush with the wood, we can now reassemble the wood onto our mandrel. First of all, we want to check the marking to make sure that our wood is marked in the same way that it was cut, so the grains will line up, making a beautiful pen. We want to place the bushings on in the correct order as the instructions. You should always check back with the instructions if you don't know the correct order. Now that we're at the lathe, we're going to insert a mandrel into the lathe. I'm going to push it in slightly, and then we're going to tighten. Tighten the lathe up to the edge of the mandrel, gently pushing it in slightly. lock it into place, and then we're going to back off a little bit so it doesn't create too much friction at the end. Okay, now with the lathe, we're going to take our gouge tool and gently work the wood. Since this wood is small, fragile, and square, we want to slowly go at it. Make sure you have a nice sharp tool and slowly work the wood. After roughing the wood out with our gouge, we're going to take our oval skew and straighten it out. The trick is we want a nice shape to this pen. Not too curvy or not too flat. We want it to be gently caressed in our hand. You want to work the edges down to the bushings. Make them flush. That'll make a nice fitting pen. The hardware will fit nice and clean into it. Now we're going to start sanding the pen. Make sure to go from your rough grit sandpaper down to your fine. Now, after the 220 sandpaper, we're going to go with some steel wool. This will really bring the shine out of the wood. Now we're going to start with the two-part wax polishing process. We start with the dark one, continue with the cream one. Apply some wax and give it some pressure with a clean cloth. The more heat, the shinier it'll get. Now it's time for the cream one. Again, same story. Apply the wax, apply some pressure. The more heat, the shinier it'll get. We've got a nice shine. But we're going to apply some crystal coat to give it a nice glossy finish.
We're done polishing.
Now that we're done polishing, we're ready to remove the wood from the lathe. As you can see, we have a beautiful glossy shine. Now we're ready to take this apart and go assemble the pen. Now that we've got our pen guts laid out, we're going to go assemble it. To this we need a vise or a clamp. I'm going to use the vise. Gently use the vise and squeeze the pieces into the wood. This mechanism is important. You need at least 3/4 of an inch sticking out for the right clearance of the writing implement in the pen. Back to the vise. Now that we've got the inserts in, we can assemble the rest of the pieces. We've got one last thing to do. Glue this ring to the end of the pen cap. I hope you enjoyed today's pen making show with Woodworking with Jake. Tune in next time, we'll be turning some bowls. Your mother would be proud of you.